Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Jeremiah coming from Frank Johnson Upholstery in Redding, California. And today we're going to take this Ranger bass boat seat and we're going to make it look like new again. Alright, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is take the seat apart, obviously. I've already pulled a whole bunch of the staples out of this seat. These center sections here, they're velcroed in. They're pretty tight to begin with. I make it look really simple. It's not quite that easy. You got to yank them pretty good to get them out. It's just Velcro though. And then there's a little strap that is stapled into the back. You pull the staples, the whole thing comes out. The center section, stapled in the front, slides out the back, 2 aluminum hooks in the back. And then in order to get the backrest covers off completely, you have to remove the foam and everything from the cushions. So I'm going to take it's just a putty knife, some kind of scraper, and I'm going to scrape these foams off of the bottom here and try not to damage them as I go. Now right here I want to tell you the most important thing that you can bring to the table when you go to do this or anything else that you're going to do. You need to bring a big old bucket load of confidence. You have to look at this thing and say, yeah, I can do that. I can make it look better. I can make this thing look awesome. You know, whatever it is you're doing in your life, whether it's school, work, your home life, your relationships, whatever it is, you have to be confident. If you go at this thing and you're like, I don't know if I can do it, I'm not sure, you're going to be right, man. You're not going to do a good job. You're not going to do it well. You got to come at this thing. I don't care if this is the first time you've ever done this and you don't know what the hell you're doing. You got to be like, yeah, I can do it. I know I can do it and I can do it well. That's the most important thing. Okay, right here, that circle, there's a plastic piece that is pop riveted. There's a plastic piece sewn into the cushion cover, pop riveted to the back plastic, 3/16 inch aluminum pop rivets. Drill those bad boys out, and you have to do that in order to get the foam and everything off that plastic piece. It's clear plastic. It has to be you got to drill the pop rivets out. Alright, the Ranger tag on the back of the seat is just a soft rubber. You get it started with a little screwdriver. It's glued on. Try not to mess it up. Peel that thing off and smack Max with it. That's a Max, our newest apprentice. And then you move on to the taking the tag holder off. Just all the pop rivets on this seat are going to be, they should be 3/16 inch aluminum pop rivets. So you're just going to go about drilling all these out to remove the tag. These DeWalt drills that I'm using in this video, these are really good drills. They have a regular drill, and then there's a impact screw gun, and they work phenomenally. I recommend them. Always focus intently on what you're drilling. Alright, now I'm just going to be putting some patterning marks onto the seat here, and I'm going to make both sides from this one side. I'm going to pattern this side that I'm marking up, and then I'm going to flip everything over and stamp it just to get the opposite side. Makes things simple. I'm just marking where the seams line up on the back piece, because the back piece is pretty much just one big piece where the front is multiple pieces. I'm also going to eliminate that one piece at the top where my left hand, well, right there. I'm going to eliminate that piece, make that all one piece right there, get rid of that seam. Now I'm just putting like A's and B's and C's on these pieces here, so I know which piece, you know, what sews to what when I put it back together. Now right here I'm just peeling off this backrest cover, and you'll notice that I'm going pretty slow, and the reason for that is that the cover was glued to the foam in several places, And so if you ever run into that on whatever you're working on, if the vinyl is glued to the foam, if you will pull the vinyl straight back over itself, instead of like yanking at a 90-degree angle or whatever, if you pull straight back at like 180 degrees to where it's stuck and go slowly, it can you stand a better chance of getting the cover off without messing the foam up. And I was really trying not to mess the foam up because it was in good shape on this seat. You can also see right here, you can see the dark marks where the seams were, and those will help you when you go to put the cover back on. Alright, right now what I'm doing is the Velcros that were in the cushion that holds the cover in place, they were all falling out. So I'm just replacing the Velcro. I'm just cutting some narrow little strips of the hook side of the Velcro, the hard side, and I'm going to glue those back into the cushion. Now I'm going to start patterning my pieces. Right there I've marked this with DC. That means driver's cushion. I'll mark all the driver's side with a D and all the passenger side with a P. Helps me keep organized until I get everything sewed up. I use about a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so all my marks are a 1/2 inch outside the seam. And then these scissors that are there, those are 10-inch, I believe it's Kai scissors. The company is spelled Kai. Those things are phenomenal, people. We used to use other brands, and we still have some around, but we don't use them. Ever since these things came out, I don't know, the first time I saw them was about 7 years ago. They're Kai, and those right there are 10-inch shears. They're like, I don't know what they're made. They're tungsten, stainless, or something like that, but they are phenomenal. If you cut with an old style pair of trimmer shears and then you use those things, you will never go back. If you're going to be doing a lot of cutting, I totally recommend them.
Next level.
Now I'm patterning the band for the cushion. That circle there, I'm trying to show you that there are flaps that have to be cut onto the cushion band, and the flaps pull through and they staple underneath the seat. I had a good pattern. The cuts were good, the flaps were good, so I'm going to pattern those cuts and make those cuts preemptively. If you do that, it will make installation much simpler. You'll also see here that that part that I'm working on right now, that's where it was stapled around the front. I'm leaving about an inch or so. You want to leave yourself a little extra from where the staples were. Maybe leave a couple inches if you're new to it. And then again, I'm just marking it. This is the driver's side. That's that flap I was talking about. I'll go ahead and make those cuts before I put the cushion on and make it much simpler.
Next level.
Alright, so now I'm going to flip this over and get the pattern for the other side, like I talked about earlier. And I want you to notice something here. See, now it looks like I'm just stamping out the pattern, right? And I am. I'm stamping out the pattern, and you'll see it leaves a faint chalk line, then you go back and retrace it. But I'm doing something else here. I am warming up my slapping hand. Something about upholstery that was pointed out to me by someone we used to work with, his name's Sim, is the amount of slapping that takes place while doing upholstery. Upholsterers slap seats. If you're new to this, if you've never done it, I'm going to let you know. If you want to be good at upholstery, you are going to have to learn to slap the seat. You will see coming up. Alright, now I'm going to continue patterning my cushion pieces here. You got to keep your chalk and your scissors sharp. All right, when you're doing upholstery, those are you need sharp chalk and sharp scissors, right? You want to keep your line density, the width of your line. I like to keep mine right about 3 millimeters. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really know how thick the line is. Just try to keep the chalk sharp. Those are, see, I got DC, driver's cushion. Makes sense, right? Simple. You just mark everything, labeling, marking. And then I'm going to, as soon as I get this done, those Kai scissors, then I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to warm up my slapping hand some more. Trying to conserve material there. See how I got it fit right there at the end. Alright, so here I am. I'm putting on the passenger side backrest cover. Oh, here comes Frank Johnston. This is he's the owner of the shop. He's giving me a little pep talk, cheering me on, keep me motivated. He's good at it. All right, I'm gonna kind of just jam through this side because I actually skipped the key part that I wanted to show you, but I'll show you on the other side. The one thing I do want you to notice about this though is that if you take a look, if I ever get out of the way here, I left the old cover on the other side, and I'm just using that to compare the new cover, just so that I'm doing it. It's a good reference. I can look at the old cover and make sure I'm headed in the right direction. Right here too, I'm cutting a flap that I didn't pattern all the flaps on the backrest. But if you look at that, when I'm cutting those flaps, I'm not just cutting a line in it. I cut up to where I want the end of the point to be, and then I round the end of it and come back. And the reason for that is that you'll see me do it again here. I'm gonna cut up, and then I will round the end of it and cut back. I got right in the way, but you can see it there. And the reason for that is that if you're cutting vinyl or leather or anything, if you just cut a straight line and you start pulling on that material in different directions, it has a likelihood it will rip where you cut it. But if you do a round cut at the end, and I keep getting in the way and I apologize for that, but if you do a nice round cut at the end, it has much less chance of ripping out. So now I'm just going to work this backrest cover. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to do a little back and forth here. I'm going to set the back a little bit here. I'm not totally setting everything, but I'm doing a little here and a little there, just getting everything in place. Now this staple gun that I've been using, it's I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce the company again. It's BEA. It's a BEA. It is a fine wire, long nose, 3/8 inch crown. It uses 3/8 inch crown staples. We use it for everything. Again, it's a BEA fine wire, long nose, and it uses staples with a 3/8 inch crown. And I'm just going to keep, I'm just working this thing, you can see I got to get it from all kinds of different angles here. You do a lot of back and forth, you're just trying to get everything in place. I'm working on the flap a little bit. Now right here on the back, you see these 3 faint X's. I've marked approximately where the holes for the Ranger tag holder are going to go. That's what that is.
Next level, 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 level,
Okay, now here you can see that I've already set the upper inside portion there at the top of the inside, that's already stapled. And now I'm working on the inside side, and I'm pulling down on that to keep it from wrinkling in the middle. So I'm going to staple it down right there. So I'm going to go down and then I'll go back in there. Because if I did it the other way, it might wrinkle. And this is where the long nose staple gun comes in handy because it's so deep in there that you have to staple. And you can kind of see where it was stapled before. You kind of know. We take a lot of pictures too. If you're not sure if you're doing something like this, take a lot of pictures to reference. But you can pretty much tell where everything was. And now I just did the other side, so I went down first, and then I'm going to go back in there. And now I'm working on that. I never set that flap earlier because it seemed like it didn't need to be done until now. I had it all cut, but I didn't set it. And you can see I don't have the side all set yet either. That's another flap there I'm pulling on, and going to go ahead and set that for good now. I went a little bit out of order on what I'm showing you in the video, and I apologize for that. This is the first one that I made in a long time. I plan on making some more, and I'll try to do a better job with the angle and all that. I know I'm getting in the way a little bit. I'm sure there'll be some comments on some of that stuff, but Now here I'm just test fitting the insert. That went really fast too. But I was test fitting the insert in the backrest to make sure none of my staples showed. Now I'm just putting some plastic on here. This is going to help with the cover sliding around, and it also waterproofs it a little bit. Now this is what I was talking about when I said I kind of went out of order here. This first thing I'm going to do on this side is paramount. This is the most important thing that I could show you about doing this seat, really. There's a long seam that goes all the way around the seat. It starts on the inside, in the middle, it goes around over the top of the seat and comes back down outside the arm. You can see it on the other side. It's that seam that wraps right around the front of the seat. That is the very first thing you want to set. If you get that seam set properly, you're in good shape. If you don't, this thing's going to be a nightmare. So that's the first thing. And now here we go with the slapping. This is what I was talking about earlier. That's all I'm worried about at this point here is setting that one long seam that goes all the way around. I'm checking the dark part of how I showed you that the foam has the marks on it from the old seam. So I'm checking that other seam, the seam that runs to the inside, to see if it's lined up. And now I'm going to set this side of that seam. So I'm going to put about 3, 4, or 5 staples right through the seam on the plastic. I feel I've got that side set pretty well. That's where it goes. And now I'm going to work that seam around. I'm just going to pull it and rub it and massage it and slap it. You can see the slapping that I was referring to. You've got to slap the seat. I'm pulling that down, slapping it, trying to get everything in its proper position. You want everything to look nice, you want it to be symmetrical. And you can see on the other seat that's already put on, those two seams at the top. If you have those off, it's going to make it all look funny. So if you get that long seam that goes all the way around the seat, if you get that set in the proper place, all the other seams are going to line up nice and easy. That's why I'm taking my time at this point and really ensuring that I get that right. You got to slap it. I don't know any other way. All right, you see me shaking my head a little bit there. What I'm doing is I'm mentally preparing to show this thing who's boss. You got to get it in place. You got to pull. You got to put your weight behind it. Get physical with it. You got to slap the seat, sir. You just slap it with the left hand. See, I'm pulling on it with everything I got with my right hand there. Now, this side, you need to be slapped a little bit too. You still where you're supposed to be? I'm not sure. There you go. Stay where you're supposed to be. All right. Now I'm holding that thing. I've been smacking it down, and as you notice, I'm switching hands and I'm holding it. I'm holding it so it doesn't slide back up on me. You got to get that seam in place. You got to slap it. You got to pull it. You got to yank it. You got to convince that cover to go where you want it to go. Now I'm getting towards the end. I'm wrapping it around the front. I'm getting there. I'm holding it. You can see the pressure I've got on it. And now I'm almost there. It's close. Oh, see, I'm looking at that dark spot on the foam. I'm happy with it. Almost. Couple more smacks for good measure. I think everything's going to work out. Is it there? It's close. Am I there? I think I'm there. One last good yank on it. Maybe a little smack. And we're ready to staple. That's what you got to get that. If you get that one long seam, I've kind of already showed you the rest of what I did in there. I'm going to zoom through the rest of this now. That seam is the most important part. Slap the seat.
Next level.
Alright, so I'm just buttoning this up here. Now, I've been talking about slapping the seat. Now, this wasn't even planned. This was unscripted, okay? The subliminal power of the slap in the seat. Watch this. Max doesn't even know. Oh, he just came and gave my seat a little slap for me, just for good luck. I mean, I can't emphasize how important it is, the slapping of the seat. Alright, so here I've got the backrest covers are on, and I'm just starting to put the first cushion on. And the first thing I'm going to do is just set it on there, and those flaps that I was talking about earlier, I'm pulling those through and just kind of getting the seat set in place where it should go. At this point here, I don't have nothing is stapled. I've put the cover on, and attached the Velcros that I showed you earlier. And I'm just kind of setting it, I'm getting it in place. I'm preparing to install it. So I'm going to pull all the flaps through. And then I'm going to attach that clear plastic piece that I was talking about. I haven't given you guys a good close-up of it, but it's sewed into the back of the cover there. And I'm going to pop rivet it to the back plastic, and that holds the back of the cushion to the rest of the seat. And a lot of times what happens with these is that the holes have gotten wallowed out. And so there's generally, I think, 3 pop rivets holding it in place, and a lot of times you'll have to drill some new holes so that your pop rivets will hold. But they're the same as all the rest of them. They're 3/16. I think, yeah, this one here, I was going to use it, and I think it's a little wallowed out, so I'm going to go ahead and drill a new one. And as you can see at this point here, there's no staples in that cover, and it's really pretty close to looking good. It's all I did was pulled the flaps through, and I'm attaching that back, and it's pretty close to looking good. So I mean, once you're at this point, all you're going to do is pull those flaps down to where everything looks right. Pull the front around and staple it. After you get these pop rivets in there, I'm having a little trouble with the pop rivets. I think. Was just having to drill some new holes, trying to get everything lined up properly. And from there, it's a pretty short jump to just having the cushion covers on. And this is the outside pieces all put together and stapled on with the insert Velcroed in. And now I'm just going to go ahead and put, this is the center section cushion. I slowed it down a bit right here because I just want to show you, I put chalk marks on the plastic where the seams were supposed to line up. That's a common thing I do. It just helps you get things lined up when you're putting them back together. So now I'm going to go ahead and put these there were 2 brackets on the centerpiece that those are the parts that slide on the back. I'm just going to go ahead and pop rivet those back on. If you're going to be doing a lot of pop riveting, especially with anything bigger than the 1/8 inch rivet, like I've said, these are all 3/16. You really want to invest in a pneumatic rivet gun. They're going to save your hands a lot of wear and tear. And now we're getting towards the end of this thing. I'm going to just slide this center cushion back on the back. It just hooks around the back there. And then I'm going to get it all set to where it looks nice and staple it around the front. The other thing that I'm doing at this point is I'm finishing up stapling those flaps. When I pulled them through the first time, I staple them one way. You can see here, I staple it one way, and then I fold it back and staple it on itself. And that holds it real securely. So when it comes time to put the tag holders back on, what I'll do is I'll use the X's that I put on the back to find the center hole, and then I put the tag up there like I have now, and I'll run a punch through each hole, and then I pull it back off. And what I'm going to do is just trim each hole out just a little bit, which will make the pop rivet go through everything a little bit easier. The tag holder is pretty large, so you can cut small holes here and you shouldn't run into any problems if you're careful. And then once all the holes are cut, you put the tag back up and rivet it on. So now I'm just going to smack the seat a little bit to make sure that the rivets are all tight and nothing's just going to pop off on accident. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue the Ranger tags back on. And I'm just using a contact adhesive to do this. You can use, there's a lot of different brands out there that'll work well. And you can use it, you can brush it on, you know, you don't have to have any kind of fancy setup. One thing though that I'm going to do here that you might find useful is I'm going to go ahead and coat both sides pretty liberally with the glue, and then I'm going to walk away and let it totally dry for about half an hour. And now both sides are totally dry, and I'm going to come back and I'm just going to shoot a light mist onto the back of the tag. I don't want to do both sides, I just want to do one side. And now when I'm going to let that tack up for just a minute, and then I'm going to go ahead and apply those tags, and those things are not going to come off unless I peel them off. Alright, so this is the finished product. Came out pretty good, I think. It's got the different inserts than it had originally, but all the seams are looking good. Everything's tight. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is Jeremiah from Frank Johnson's Upholstery in Redding, California. Now get out there and slap a seat.